Welcome to the first Association of Corporate Growth, Austin, San Antonio Roundtable. We've been meeting for the last almost a year and a half, but this is our first in-house one, so I'm so glad to welcome you guys here. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Carrie Vanston. I'm the director and moderator for the Roundtable. We created this in order to really give a chance for CEOs and C-suite people and business owners who are with growth-oriented companies to have a place to land and have support with a peer group and a peer environment. Our next one will be December 14th, so put that on your calendars. Let's see, today we have James and Jennifer Crean from Crean Incorporated, and they will be talking about the importance of onshoring and a roadmap to get there. I want to start by really thanking our sponsors who make all of this possible. Our sponsors are Weaver, Dykema, Insperity, and Higher Better. And if it wasn't for them, we couldn't do these really wonderful events that we have at Association of Corporate Growth. Let's see, what's next? Oh, I also wanted to thank Damon and Stacy Neff, who provided this beautiful, meaningful space for us. Thank you so much. They also provided drinks. So we got coffee and tea and soft drinks. I also wanted to give a big thank you to Insperity for bringing the breakfast tacos. I can't wait to chow down on that. So thank you so much for our sponsors. Let's see, what's next? Damon. I also wanted to say, Damon, thank you for being our speaker in December last year on EOS.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Now I'd like to introduce Susan Vaughn, and she's going to talk a little bit about ACG. And she is our president-elect at Association of Corporate Growth, Austin, San Antonio.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for being here. It's so exciting to get to again have an in-person event. We've had a few through ACG now, kind of tested the market and tested the community on whether they wanted to get together in person. And I think it's been a wholehearted yes. And so we had a wonderful turnout at our annual Growth Awards. We were at capacity. We celebrated some wonderful growth stage companies. We have had mixers, we have had a luncheon now, and we'll have a luncheon in November. Sarah, help me on the date, please. November for the next. Sorry?
3rd, I think. So the first Wednesday of November.
Thank you very much. But lots to come, so stay tuned. Please think about joining us in person because we have some outstanding speakers lined up for you and a really great community to network with. So I'm going to move on and introduce here James and Jennifer Crean, if that's, is it time?
No, actually, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to all introduce ourselves, and then I'm going to introduce them right before they speak.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and everybody's going to introduce themselves. I will start, and then I'll introduce the speakers. I'm Carrie Vanston. I'm the CEO of the Alligator Wrangler, and I help executives and entrepreneurs who are just knee deep in alligators and they're stressed out and overwhelmed. With my system, I help them really connect with what they really want and shift to a positive mindset so they can have more peak performance, joy, and impact. Great referral for me is somebody who really was wanting to level up in their business and life. So they can say, see you later, alligator. Damon, would you like to go next?
Thanks. I'm Damon Neff. I own a couple of companies. Meetingful Spaces is one of them, but my primary business is I'm a certified EOS implementer. So if anybody's read the book Traction or heard of EOS, I help companies get vision, traction, and healthy through that program. So, you know, kind of like complementary to your work, Carrie, you know, I'm helping people basically create businesses that run without them so the entrepreneurs can decide if they still want to have an active operating role in the company or if they want to move to the owner's box and let the company run without them or have an exit, typically. Welcome.
Cisco Sakasa, CEO for Higher Better. We're an executive search firm based out of Austin, Texas. We work across the U.S. First time in this roundtable, so excited to be here.
I'm John Spencer. I'm president of Clear Direction Sales Development. And like the name says, I operate as an outsourced sales leader. for companies who are either plateaued or hopefully growing fantastically and beyond the capacity of the current leadership to keep up with. So I come in, put the infrastructure in place, sales team reports to me, and then we find out if we want to elevate somebody into that role permanently or outsource and or hire and bring them in, recruit, I should say. Also use predictive index for talent optimization. If you guys are familiar with that, about the whole process, if not, we can talk. But everything to do with getting the right people in the right seats, that hopefully as Damon would say. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Jenkins, and I am currently working with my own LLC and that I happen to always manage to spin up very easily when I'm in between roles, which is the reality. I just wrapped up being running the software division of a company called EPSoft, but historically I co-found and then luckily exit technology businesses. I've had 4 of those, and then I've been C-suite level executives in several other technology companies. And I'm working on some board roles right now and looking for what I'm going to do next full time and helping other startups and lower mid-market companies grow.
Andy Fogarasi, almost want to repeat your lines exactly. I have my own little company, Austin Beta, 20 years I've been doing consulting, but I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Cranked up my own company in the early 2000s, sold it after having about 100 employees and 20 million in revenue. Decided to take a little bit of time off, tried to retire, failed miserably. Didn't work. It's too much fun doing stuff. Got back into it. Now I'm mentoring, coaching other startup companies, and suddenly find almost more on my plate than I can handle. But love it because I'm really doing things that I enjoy doing with people that are fun to be with, which are the 2 most important things. As long as I'm doing that, keep on going.
Well, good morning again, Susan Vaughn. My day job is with Clarity, and Clarity is a national company that provides full service HR. And so whether you need payroll technology, an HCM platform, guidance on compliance, but the icing on the cake can often be the benefits that we're able to extend to you and your employees, meaning healthcare benefits. So wonderful company, been around for about 35 years. Again, I'm an advisor with them, been there about 9 years. Prior to that, I did executive search and backing up as a business owner for about 15 years.
Good morning. My name is Todd Gates with.
You go ahead, Todd, and then we'll go to Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Todd Gates with HCS. We're an outsourced IT firm. We are sort of targeted on companies about 15 and up, no specific vertical. We really enjoy companies that are growing quickly, so we can sort of take the chaos of scaling and utilize technology to sort of smooth that sort of thing out.
Is that no country?
It's not. No,
Okay.
no, never say that.
I just want to make sure they're not. Is that your competitor basically?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I know it real well.
I just wondered HCS if it worked out that way.
No, I was just kidding.
No, you're not. We'll talk about that later.
Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Singer, ACG Chapter Executive. I've been doing this for 15 years, can you believe that? So I know a lot of you in the room. For those who I don't know so well, hello, and hope you enjoy this meeting.
And we couldn't do all the things we do without Sarah. Yay! So we're so happy to welcome Jenn and James Crean. Crean provides hands-on engineering services and smart factory transformation services to Fortune 100 and Fortune 2000 clients. Both of them have amazing backgrounds. Jenn co-founded Crean and Associates in 2002 after nearly 2 decades of financial, operational, and program office experience in aerospace and other industries. She worked with Hughes, Space and Communications, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, AMPAC, is it AUPAC or AMPAC? She was recently recognized for excellence in leadership in Consulting Magazine's Women Leaders in Technology Awards for 2021. And she's also been featured in the Austin Business Journal. Just really has a great profile. James is an aerospace innovator with a passion for driving the implementation of smart factory technologies and methods in the US. He spent the first half of his career at Hughes Space and Communications at Boeing. Be interesting to see how you guys met.
Not at work.
Not at work. He was integrally involved in over 100 smart factory LSS engagements that have progressively produced amazing efficiency and effectiveness results. And he just really loves working for entrepreneurs in engineering to new innovative ideas, to really do faster and more efficient and really beat out the competition. So thank you so much for coming and welcome.
Thank you.
Let me just share.
Oh, there you go. You have to kind of click on it to get it to start.
How do I move to the next one? Just with the arrow.
Those two, yeah,
Okay.
you could also do those, but those are easier, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So hello, welcome everybody. My name is Jennifer Crean. I'm CEO of Crean Inc. We started about 20, almost 20 years ago. It was basically James consulting at first, and then I started consulting, and then we started growing the team. Obviously, he has the engineering background at Hughes, and I have more of an operational finance background. We have grown the team in the last 20 years from up to about, we have over 600 subject matter experts in aerospace. We accelerate performance basically from design through production. So we have a team of engineers, again, like I said, over 600 subject matter experts that can help accelerate your product design. And then we have a smart factory team that implements smart factory technology and process to improve production. And we also have engineers that help you design for manufacturability. So if you need if you have a new product and you don't know exactly how to make it, then we can help you design the process to make that. I went through that. Okay, so in the engineering services side, we basically have taken our 600 subject matter experts and divided it into different teams. We have seven teams, and there's systems engineering, mechanical, electrical, antenna, specialty engineering, and then our manufacturing, engineering, and methods team. And our clients are, again, we have Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop, all the big guys, as well as a lot of smaller companies and startup companies as well. And then for our smart factory, we've divided it into areas that we help with. We have our own smart factory operating system, as well as smart racks and smart benches, which James will talk to more about that later. We do layout, either existing facilities, we'll relay out the factory to improve the process, or we'll do new factory layout as well. Usually we'll go in and assess a company, we'll do a discovery, figure out what we can do to help, and we'll give them a roadmap to step by step to get to where they want to go. We also do asset tracking. So we have some partner companies that we work with to do asset tracking. So we put anchors and tags, and we can track all different types of assets in the factory. With partners also with cybersecurity, one of our partners helps with cybersecurity. If you need to get CMMC certified, NIST certifications, we have a partner that also helps with that. And I think you're up.
So welcome. This is an amazing group of people. So thank you so much for the opportunity to chat a little bit about some of the things that we're doing. So this is our sort of a visual representation of our smart factory operating system. And basically what we're doing is, this is an example of what we call just discrete asset tracking. So as product is moving through a factory, a lot of times it'll be put in a bin, like the bins you see there, as a kit, and then it moves from step to step, and different assembly operations happen or test operations happen. And that work in process might sit and wait on a rack like this, like the smart rack that we described here, or it might be at a bench. No matter where it is, we're tracking where it is and how long it's there. And we're tracking what it is. And so by doing by collecting data as we go, we can continuously improve and understand better what's going on in the factory. We have complete visibility into everything that's happening within that factory, and then use that data to create insight into how do we improve it. And then we have an AI algorithms that work in the background that are continuously looking at ways to optimize it. And so every time a product sits, the whole system is looking at where can I send it, what should I do next, right? So if I have three items on a rack, which of those items should be worked next to optimize the factory for the performance that the management's looking for? It's a pretty cool system. And what we're using this for is, so, we come out of aerospace, right? Very complex manufacturing. Everything that you build in aerospace practically is custom, right? It's when you build a satellite, now there's more, larger constellations, but typically it's even when you have a large constellation of satellites, you're continuously putting in new innovations into the system, and it's a very complex manufacturing environment. And so in trying to solve how do you optimize a really complex manufacturing environment, we came up with, over the last 20 plus years, some really innovative tools and methods for doing that. And so the way to sort of think about where our sweet spot is you can have low rate or high rate production, right? So, if you're spitting out toys over and over again, that's high rate production, right? Or you might have, fine art, right? Where it's one off, slow, single person kind of production, right? So there's all kinds of levels in between there, but that sort of simplifies it. Then there's the mix, right? So am I making the same thing over and over again, or is everything I make new and different, right? And so traditionally, sort of manufacturing operations have been optimized using Lean, right? Which is based on the Toyota production system. Most people have heard of Lean Six Sigma. It's good for cars because you're making the same thing over and over again. Yeah, there's some small variations, but they're pretty much the same thing. And what we've done is we've developed tools and methods that extend that to rapid customization. So I'll talk a little bit about why that matters. So, and how that applies to reshoring. Okay, so the ability to rapidly customize product is an enabling, it's not even technology, because it's not just technology, it's process, but it's an enabling capability. And so when you start enabling something new, people find ways to use it, right? Okay, I think we all have experienced that. So the capability to rapidly customize is an enabling capability, and there's technologies that now can help to support that. But the interesting thing is more and more, and you think about it, customers are demanding customization, right? Even Nike's like 3D printing shoes, right? You pick whatever color you want and all these kinds of things, right? And that is only going to progress. And so when you think about, you can go online today, Amazon, order whatever you want and get it in a day or two. It's not quite whatever you want. It's whatever they have in a distribution center nearby, right? The future is you go online to Amazon or someplace else and you order actually whatever you want. And that order is processed immediately and it's made to your specifications and still delivered to you in a day or two, right? That's our vision of what the future is. And if you don't think that's happening, well, you need to catch up because your competition is already starting to do that. We're doing that for companies, right? We have a company we're working with now. They make access panels, right? Very straightforward product for the business, for the building industry. Want to get to your plumbing behind the bathtub, you open the access panel and get to the plumbing, close it, that kind of thing. So they produce thousands of SKUs and a sizable portion of their business is custom on top of that. And they're producing thousands, hundreds, at this point, a day of these products. And they're made to order. They're customized, right? So that's what the future is. And not just in that industry, but every industry. So those are, to me, sort of the market-driven reasons why you really have to think about on reshoring, because you can't make something in China and customize it and deliver it to your customer in a day or two, no matter what, right? It's so,
Can I just add something there?
yeah.
So we have a company that we're working with who wants to bring their manufacturing back from Asia. And their competitor is already here. So they are now stuck waiting for shipment. They can't get shipped. They want 50 containers a month. They're getting 7 or 8. So they're losing market share while their competition who's making it in the States is getting, getting all the market share. So.
Yeah, so we know the supply chain's broken right now, right? And it's broken in a lot of different ways, and it's going to be a while before it's fixed and before we get out of this. Some economists are saying the only way we get out of it is through recession, right? That's not a great way to get out of it. I prefer just moving the production here. Let's get out of it that way. And so, the thing is, when you look at that long supply chain, first of all, labor costs are going up in Asia, right? You say, oh, okay, well, no problem. We're going to move to Vietnam, right? Well, how long is it going to take for labor costs to go up in Vietnam? It's a much smaller country, much smaller country than China. So that demand for labor is going to cause rates to increase. If you want to ship things and you can't even get them in, right? Companies, and if you do get them in, you're paying, instead of $1,500 to $2,000 for a container, you're paying $20,000 for a container. So your cost for shipping just, gone up by a factor of 10. And so all of these things are great reasons to bring business back. And so the question is how do you do it? And so this is the roadmap that we have for how do you do this. And it really breaks down very simply. You have to have an integrated solution to this. And that integrated solution, most people think in terms of technology, but really the integration that matters is people, process, and technology. And really in that order, right? There's a tendency to want to jump to, oh, technology is going to solve my problem. Okay, well, anybody who's been through an ERP implementation knows that that's not always the case. Okay, and so you really want to start with people, right? We always start with the leadership team. Is the leadership team aligned and clear on what it is that they want to do? If not, then let's spend the time up front, because the leadership team has to lead this process. Transforming a business is a very complicated, I think most of the people in this room understand how complicated transforming a business is. And so you start with the leadership, you get alignment there, you look at what's going on throughout, from a customer to supplier to internal. And then you start looking at process, right? So we start with production processes because you have to be able to get the product out the door. Doesn't do any good to start with sales and double your sales if you can't produce twice as much product, right? You just frustrate everybody. So you start at the end and you work your way backwards, but you have to transform your processes to support what are you ultimately doing? You're shrinking cycle time, right? So we're working with a company where we're taking their cycle time from 20 days. Ultimately, we're going to get it down to 1 day. Now, if you just sort of spend a little bit of time, quiet time, thinking about what happens to a business when you go from 20-day to 1 day lead time, right? Your planning window for production goes from 10, 15 days to minutes, right? That's just one, right? Your ability to sort of optimize what are you going to do in production operations goes from, oh, I can think about that for a few days to I can't think about it at all. It has to be automated, right? So there's a whole transformation that happens. From a technology perspective, the most important piece are the information systems, to be perfectly honest. People always think that you have to automate in order to go fast. That's really not always the case. And in fact, sometimes automation just reduces the flexibility that you need. Keep in mind, you're rapidly customizing. So your automation has to support rapid customization. That's a pretty big ask of most automated, most like robot systems and things like that. It's not that it's not possible, but a lot of times actually the solution is more people, not fewer people, but you have to do it really smartly. And you definitely have to support them with the technology that, and that goes back then to, you have to make sure that your people are comfortable with the technology that you're bringing. And one last point on that, technology for technology's sake is a failing proposition from the get-go. The technology implementations, the purpose ultimately that you need to be thinking about in technology implementations is delivering simplicity. And as I always say, simplicity is the art of making the complex seem easy, right? And it's simplicity is integrating these things and then delivering to the people that are having to execute exactly what they need when they need it, right? Think of a smartphone, right? If you use GPS on your smartphone to get anywhere, think about the complexity of that system, right? You've got this cool app on your phone, great. Well, the phone itself is an incredibly complex computer that's far more complex than what they use to land on the moon, and then it's integrating real time with a worldwide network of satellites that are determining exactly where you are and has a database of where anything is in the country that you want to go to. It's an incredibly complex thing, but at the end, it's super simple. That is what simplicity is. It's easy to use. It's a very complex system. So just some really quick examples of things that we've done. So this is where we're helping this building products company to take 3,000 different types of panels and produce them incredibly quickly from order to delivery. We've already increased their capacity by 40% without any change in the number of people. In fact, they've reduced the number of people by a significant amount, not by choice, but through attrition. And we haven't changed any machinery, we haven't added any shifts, but just looking at the process, how do you make things more efficient?
And typically we don't get rid of people. That's not what we want to do, is expand the capacity with the same people, the same resources. So we don't go in and say, look at a company and say, oh, you need to, reduce your workforce by 20% to hit some random benchmark, right? We don't do that. We want to go in, keep all the jobs, and just expand the capacity of the factory.
Very true. There are some consulting companies that are famous for that. We don't do that. In fact, most of the companies that we work with are actually trying to find more people and add more people. What our target customer is, the customer that's already profitable, which, by the way, is the most difficult customer to sell. Because you go, I'm already profitable, right? Okay, so great, you're making $5 million a year. How about, would you like to make $50 million a year, right? And well, yeah, too much investment to do that. Well, actually, no. You could use the same people and the same processes, the same machinery, not the same process, but the same machinery in a lot of cases. This was an aerospace client. We don't, on the smart factory side of things, we're industry agnostic. If you're in manufacturing, there's been one company that we've toured that we went through and we said, man, you guys pretty much have this nailed down. We're not really going to be able to make a big impact on what you're doing. Just keep doing the improvements that you're doing. Other than that, every company that we've walked through, no matter what industry they're in, we've seen opportunities where we know that we can give them a huge benefit. In this case, we had a 10 times increase in productivity of their labor force. They were consistently late. They had 100 people doing production operations, all of whom were working 60-hour weeks, and they've been doing that for 2 years. So for 2 years, they haven't seen a kid's soccer game, right? They probably didn't go to too many recitals. If they did, they probably were asleep, So, that's why, to me, this is about people. And when you go and you have an operation where that's going on, it's like the greatest joy in the world is the fact that 6 weeks later, there were only 2 people working overtime in that plant. Okay. But at the same time, they went from a cycle time of 22 weeks down to about 7. Their productivity went from producing 18 units a day to producing over 40 units a day. Keep in mind, right? All the overtime's gone, and yet productivity more than doubled, right? We didn't add any machines. We didn't change the layout. We didn't change the way anybody did the actual job that they were skilled to do. We changed the operating system. No technology, mind you, but there's how you operate, how you all know, right? There's ways you operate a company, the same way you have to operate a factory floor. We changed the operating system and how they manage that work. And these are the kinds of things. So they were always late. Then they became always on time. They sold the company, they made a bunch of money, all those kinds of great things. And in fact, the owner sold the company. The interesting thing is a major aerospace company came in and bought them. I won't say who. They put in their own operating system for the factory, which was basically, we euphemistically call the 80s called, and they want their lean back. They put in their system, and within 18 months, they took out the system we had put in place that was incredibly efficient. They put in their system. Within 18 months, they'd driven that division out of business because they couldn't figure out how to deal with the fact that these guys, 95% of the product was custom, right? They couldn't deal with that mix, and that's where we thrive. So one last sort of visual on why we love mix. Okay, so probably everybody in here has an investment advisor for their retirement. If you don't, you should have one, right? If you went to that investment advisor and you said, I want to save for my retirement, and they said, great, I have this stock, it's really great, and I'm going to put all of your money into it, right? What would you do? You would run, right? Say, thank you very much, I'm going to go find a new advisor, because we all know diversification not only helps you get a better return on investment, but also reduces your risk. We look at factories the same way, right? You could produce the same thing over and over again, but it's sort of like investing in the same stock. Why not have a diverse production operation, and just like you do in investments, use the diversity of complexity, time, all the rest of it that happens in those kinds of environments to your advantage to actually improve we can typically deliver faster in a high mix production environment than someone can deliver in a dedicated production environment. And we can do that cheaper and much more effectively. So that's it.
Excellent.
So I got a couple of questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if somebody's just pounding out a few pieces of steel that goes into a finished good, that's their job, they're an OEM supplier. Is that too much towards that lean that you wouldn't have enough value, or would you still be able to work with somebody like that?
Yeah, so sure, right? I mean, it's kind of like, I often refer to it as if you know calculus, typically you can do addition and subtraction, right? So yes, we can help companies that are doing the same thing over and over again. It's just not our target market, right? So, I'm sure that we could help them. I'm sure that we could do it very quickly. If there's somebody that you have in mind that needs some help.
In mind, but I just wonder about the strike zone also is when you look at somebody building a customized piece of equipment to go into space versus pounding out metal, their idea around margin and expense, that must be a real struggle for you sometimes, like I can't afford you or what have you. Consultants have never heard that before.
So yeah, so what we do is we go in and we do, like Jen mentioned, we do a discovery engagement, right? So we just do a quick engagement. We collect the necessary information we do. We don't ask you for your P&L, we recreate your P&L, right? So we look at what's going on, we ask for certain information that we need, and then we create a simplified P&L. Usually we're pretty stinking close, okay? Then what we do is we say, this is what we're going to do to your operation, and as a result, this is what your P&L is going to look like, right? And if you're not getting a return on investment that's 6 months or less, then we probably aren't the right solution. We like to do things quick. We like to do things really efficiently and effectively, and we like to deliver significant value right out of the gate. So that, you know, a lot of companies that are sort of in this type of space, not that I know of a lot of companies that really focus on complex manufacturing like this and encourage it. You know, most companies that are looking at production operations will look at a complex manufacturing environment like this, and they'll use the 80-20 rule. Okay, well, hey, let's get rid of, you know, 20% of your product is producing 80% of your profits. So let's get rid of the 80%, right? Our view is okay, 20% of your product is creating 80% of your profits. How about if the other 80% produced similar margins? Why don't we get your margins to where 100% of your product is producing like the 20% is? That's a pretty significant improvement in your financials at that point, right?
And also, a lot of people don't realize that they have a high mix environment. Because they're like,
True.
oh, all I make is waveguides.
Yeah.
That's it, so one product, but every single waveguide is custom. And so same with the building parts, they wouldn't probably consider that. They make access panels. That's nothing complex about
Maybe
that,
like
even though they have
self-action.
3,000
Or
SKUs,
I
right?
stamp out metal parts.
Yeah.
Well, I'll bet you they don't stamp the same metal part over and over again, right?
That's right.
And so what we do is we'll look at, okay, what's the variability look like in your industry or in your business? And how do we use that variability to your advantage, right? And so, yeah, so it's very true.
If I wanted to learn more, which one of you do I call if I wanted to come in and talk?
Probably,
Either
yeah.
one of us,
Yeah, either one. But we, yeah.
But yeah, no, happy to talk to you anytime.
Yeah.
Anything in the medical device space, just deal with that.
So it really, we're kind of industry agnostic,
Yeah.
right? And medical devices are again, that area where you have typically very complex products, and which is, you know, we're very comfortable in, right? So, you know, our team, you know, and our methods are developed around very complex, you know, aerospace products, right? And so we kind of looked at this and we said, hey, if we can solve this really complex problem over here, then that allows us to look at these other things that don't seem complex because it's just stamping out metal parts. We realized, well, the variability in that factory produces a lot of inefficiencies. And so we said, okay, we can use that methodology to create really amazing value for that, you know, that owner. And so, yeah, I mean, we're very comfortable in the medical space and, you know, production in clean rooms and all the rest of it, all of the associated regulatory issues and everything. So
I know that your processes are focused on keeping people, but you know, I mean, at least the factory spaces that we're aware of, they're having trouble getting people back in the door.
right.
So would your system assist in maybe maintaining operations with a lighter, you know, human capital load?
Yeah, I mean, like the building products company, they had attrition that they were dealing with. If they hadn't hired us and done what we had done, their production probably would have dropped by, you know, on the order of 20-25%, and instead it increased by 40%, right? Even though the number of people dropped. You know, we want them to go more than that. They want to go more than that as well. I think the market's there, but you know, there is a point at which you need people to do the work and that. So yeah, I mean, we're not, the thing that's important to us is that we don't want companies and we don't want people looking at Crean and saying, oh, Crean's coming in for an engagement, that means heads are going to roll, right? That's not what we do, right? So we elevate the whole team. We start with the executive team and we look at that and we go, okay, is there help that they need there? And we do whatever we can to help to make sure that they're aligned, they're out in front of changes that we're going to make.
But we also
and then
go on the floor
we're-
and get buy-in from everybody on the floor and explain what we're doing and the impact it's gonna have on their job. Like, that's super important because they have to buy in just as much as the C-suite has to buy.
Exactly. The people that we bring in are not talking to the executives. We do. I mean, obviously we talk to the executives, but the real information is on the floor. So we spend a lot of time interviewing the people on the floor so that we really understand the business before making
Do these
changes.
people become, I mean, hop in there, but I just wonder, you know, do the other operators feel threatened now? I mean, I know you're trying to put them at ease, but I mean, I just see how that would be a challenge if they think they've got a great system and then the leadership brings you in. I'm just wondering how you handle that when, is it just a matter of more explaining or?
Yeah.
There's always at least one person in the organization that is resistant to change, right? And so most people are resistant to change, right? But then there are some people that really dig in, right? Most people are resistant to change, but when you have a conversation with them and you start working with them, they start to realize, you know what, if I don't help this company transform and my competitor does it first, the competitor does it first, I'm actually going to be out of a job, right? Because think about that company that has a 20-day cycle time and they're really comfortable because their competitor has 20-day cycle time. And then they wake up, a little while later and their competitor has a 1-day cycle time, right? What's the one thing you can never get back in life, right? And what's the highest margin thing you can sell? Time, right? And by the way, so if you're producing something 20 times faster than your competitor, there's a couple things I can guarantee you. Number one, your quality is going to be significantly better than your competitor. You can't produce that fast and have quality problems, right? There's no time for quality problems. So you're continuously solving, not just being able to rework something, but assuring that that quality escape never happens again, right? So your quality is going to be better. Well, if you're using the same people, we've done this, right? We've increased productivity 10 times while reducing cycle time by 2 or 3 times, right? So you're better on delivery, you're better on quality, and you're better on cost. Your labor cost has to drop, right? You cannot have those kinds of efficiencies and deliver that fast, right? So what we're doing is we're making the factory much more effective at what they do and much more efficient at what they do. And the reason why we're always confident you're not going to be laying anybody off is because you're so much more competitive, right? The question for the C-suite is, how are we going to deal with the excess capacity, right?
You need
How
to
do
get
we
the sales team.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? Hire John.
Yeah. That's where all the pressure is going to go, is the
Yeah.
sales team.
That's what we always say. Our job is to put the pressure on sales,
Yeah,
right?
I use that line
But
too.
most of the time, most of the companies that we talk to, they're already sitting there going, sales is just sitting there going, I can sell 20% more, 30% more, 40% more. Just give me the capacity in the factory,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we had one client here in Austin, potential client, that we talked to. We said, well, what's your cycle time? 10 days. What happens if we cut your cycle time in half? Oh, well, right now, the RFPs, or customer proposals that we get in, we win about 15% of the time. And if we could put 5-day cycle time on that instead of 10-day cycle time, we would win 50% of the RFPs that come in. Oh, so you would triple your business overnight without hiring a single new salesperson, just by changing a number on your RFP from 10 days to 5 days. Well, we walked their factory, right? Carlos leads our team in this. I walked with them and I said, what do you think, Carlos? How long and how much? How long will it take you? How much can we improve it? He says, oh, well, it should be cycle times, probably 3 days. We could do 3 days pretty quickly. How long do you think it would take you to do it? About an hour, he said. Wow. Because we see things that other people don't see. An incredibly efficient operation, by the way.
It was the guy that ran it was
Shingijutsu.
never say that.
Trained by the Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Trained in the Toyota production system, right? And
And
all
he
of
couldn't
the,
understand why he couldn't help.
he
Because
couldn't
he's
figure out.
it's very focused on each individual process to improve every
Right.
small process, but not the bigger picture. Couldn't understand it. And I think we didn't get the job because
We told him we could do that.
he didn't believe us because he knew he was trained.
It was
Like
too
how
good.
could, yeah,
Too good.
it was too good.
That's
So
what,
we
that's
had to
after
be-
that,
we
we
had to
said,
be
well,
talking,
okay, so we need to talk to John more about this. We were saying, well, maybe what we need, so we told him, yeah, well, we can get your cycle time to 3 days and we can do it,
We didn't tell him an hour.
we didn't tell him an hour. We told him it would take us 6
It's hard to
weeks.
beat religion.
So,
Yeah.
but,
Dealing with it.
you know,
The religion we're looking for when we're, interfacing with people you would work with is that lean model. We hear to lean, there's a good opportunity for it.
But it's not optimized for you though, right? That's
It
what I'm.
depends, right? So, I mean, kind of bearing all in terms of the challenges that we have in our business, but our biggest competitor is the internal lean office, right? Because the company's internal lean office, they always say, oh, well, we can do what you're saying we could do. Well, okay, well, why not haven't you done it? Right, we can do it in 6 weeks. How long have you been working on it?
They just give us more money and people, we could do it.
Right. I mean, typically, I mean, sometimes it's 6 months, right? But our sort of initial engagement where we take, 10 times productivity increase, that was a 6-week engagement. We would have stayed a little bit longer and made it 20 or something, but they sold the company. So then we were competing with the new company's internal lean office.
I want to ask about reshoring too, because that's kind of your thing here real
Yes.
quick.
Yeah.
I know we got a few minutes, but one of the choke points I've dealt with a few companies on the last year and a half. It isn't, whether you go to Vietnam or what have you in your example, it's because all the parts are from China anyhow. So if I go to Malaysia or Vietnam or Taiwan, I'm still getting from mainland, certainly the semiconductors or whatever else. And so that's been the choke point oftentimes. If I want to come back to Mexico or wherever, I can't because I'm still waiting on the parts to come in. Now, I know there's probably a way to do that, but I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, we're not magicians, right? We can't magically make a container appear, from Taiwan semiconductors.
And we don't have the semiconductors here. So we don't,
Right.
America doesn't have the ability currently to make the parts that we've allowed to go to China.
Yeah.
There's a number of folks that I've talked to, guys are going down the same path, like we're gonna move to Mexico and manufacture. And I said,
Good luck.
no, yeah, I've got factories that are sitting still. They can't get the parts that they need,
Right.
the pieces to get to the subcomponents.
But here's the thing, right? So we had a client that they were always delivering late. They had, this was before this supply chain, issue, but they were having major supply chain issues, right? Their suppliers were consistently 3 or 4 months late. And no matter what they did, they could not get those suppliers to deliver faster, right? And their kit, from the time they would kit their product to the time they would deliver, was 6 months, right? So this is complex. There's rocket engines, okay? And so when we went in and basically redesigned their operation, didn't change the way they make rocket engines, right? We moved things around. We moved them from a large space into a smaller space, and we changed their processes. We changed the factory operating system. No technology, just process-based operating system in that case. But we took their cycle time from 6 months from kit to delivery down to 3 weeks. And they were promising, basically their sales team was promising what effectively was a 6 month, kit to delivery cycle time, right? And their actual cycle time from order to delivery is about a year, but that's because there's other stuff that has to happen before it gets to kitting. But the point is that now their suppliers could be 5 months late and they would still have a week of margin in being able to deliver, right? So when I talk about saying, well, let's make your cycle time 1 day, right? Well, you shouldn't sell 1 day, right? Sell 3 days, especially if your competitor is at 10 days, right? Give yourself some flexibility. So there's all kinds of things that we can do with flexibility to further optimize a business. And what we're doing is creating flexibility. So now that company that was always late, their customers, I was one of their customers prior to my going and working with them on this. I literally was calling them every week and just, reading them the riot act. And I couldn't get them to deliver any faster, no matter how upset I got. It didn't make any difference. Go figure. Didn't have parts to build stuff. So if you cut that cycle time, that helps. Doesn't solve it, but it definitely helps.
Quick question, do you work in food and beverage or only in hard goods?
We haven't done any food and beverage. We've had a couple inquiries in food and beverage. So, it's not that I would imagine our methods would work, but I'd want to go and look at the operation first and tell them whether we can help them or not. And we're not in the business of, telling people we can do something we can't do. So, we're, you know, if we walk an operation, yeah, it's where it's not a good fit, we'll just let you know. So,
One comment, one question. Listening to your story, not to make something simple or complex sound simple, but I remember years ago, going back to the 80s, there was a book by Goldratt.
yeah,
Go.
Yep.
Sounded so similar to the story that you listed out of the going into the factory, everyone's working overtime, trying to figure out how to make this factory profitable, and then finally figure out the method. I was just noticing that.
yeah. I mean, that's theory of constraints, right? Goldratt's the sort of the father of theory of constraints, and you know, we always say is Lean, Six Sigma theory of constraints. They're foundational. They're kind of like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then, you know, what we've done is layer on more complex methodologies that, you know, are sort of like adding calculus into the mix or something. But it's absolutely, and one of the things that happens in a high mix production environment, just to pull on that string a little bit, is as you release different products to the floor for production, the time it takes to do particular operations change, and the complexity of operations change depending on what product you're releasing to the floor. And so the constraint is actually continuously moving around. So you're like continuously chasing your tail. And that's the thing is we have systems and methods that keep you from constantly chasing your tail like that.
I'm curious if you face some of the same issues that I've seen over the years, which is very frustrating. You're talking about Lean, Six Sigma, Agile, all these modern theories and practices put in place, the foundational components. And you get into inside of so many factories and see so many operations, you start talking to folks and they're smiling and they're, you know, talking to you. And then you realize at some point, there's no way these complex systems will even work with them, because the basic stuff at the foundation, they haven't comprehended or understood to be important. And while there's lots of industries out there that are way up on the scale, there's such a big chunk in the middle that are so far behind, and you just want to help. And I don't know how to, you know, how to get them up to that level quickly.
So yeah, and you're absolutely right. And those companies are all profitable, and they're sitting there going, well, everything's fine, right? And they don't know that they're about to be taken out by a competitor that understands everything that you're talking about. And so the thing is that when we've sort of turned the model upside down, we, you know, like a typical Lean implementer or theory of constraints, they'll go in and they will, you know, the Lean model is train everybody, right? We don't take that approach. We go in and say, all right, let's make a massive change, right? Let's let people go home and see their kids' soccer games, right? And when you do that,
No, plus we measure.
well, and we do a lot of we measure results, right? What's that?
Well, you talk about people. What if you have bad people? Are you able to?
I haven't found one yet.
No, okay.
You know, I mean, honestly,
Bad,
there's
the right word, but
you know, there's a natural tendency to want to blame the person on the floor because we're not able to produce something. Yeah, that's why we start at the top, right? Quite honestly, because, you know, if you can't engage at the top, then there's no point in starting the engagement at all, because the folks at the top need to recognize that their company's changing, right?
But you also, when you talk to the people on the floor, they actually have ideas, right?
Oh, yeah.
They know. I think, well, if I do this, and you get them talking and saying, well, if you do this and you make a little suggestion of, well, what about if you did it this way? Wow, yeah, that's great. Yeah, if I did that. And they help you with ideas, and because you understand what they're doing and can talk to it, then they gets them engaged, because you know, you get them to buy in. That makes a huge difference, especially on implementation.
Yeah, the people that we bring in are people that have worked their way up through organizations, right? You know, Carlos, who leads this activity for us, he started as a machinist, right? So, you know, and he's, you know, just as comfortable talking to a CEO as he is talking to a machinist, right? And the thing is you have to engage the whole team, right, at some point. But what we do is we start, because people are naturally like, I don't know what these guys are going to do, right? You know, and it's, you just go in and say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this. You're just going to keep doing
you can
what
tell
you're
them
doing.
we're not coming in to lay off. You know, we tell them exactly what we're doing, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we're not going to lay them off. And in this one case, the building parts, they have profit share. Easiest way to buy in and get the people on the floor is to say your profit share should be, tripled. Then they're gonna buy in pretty quick.
So, yeah, I mean, but you always have somebody, there's always someone in the
Yeah.
organization.
In this case,
We call
COO
them, we
is-
call them Herbie, going back to Goldrat, right? We identify the Herbies and then we have special programs for the Herbies, right? That we engage with them and we get them on board. And ultimately, those people are the people that, once you got them to
Yeah,
really
then
understand
they're-
what's going on and they're not threatened by it and they go, yeah, they're oftentimes become your biggest advocate. It's a very interesting process and you're dealing with people and, you're constantly having to deal with what's the next thing that just popped up because people surprise you every day. And so, whether it's the guy on the floor, whether it's a supervisor or it's the executive team, right? It's going in and say, all right, hey, we didn't see this, previously, now we do. This is what we need to do about that, right?
And it's also, we help with communication from the front to the very end. So the one company we went to, this person was doing all the putting together the kits, right? What has to be put in a kit and then it gets released to the floor. Well, the person who got the kit would have to go, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Well, we went there, they had never met. He had not gone back to the person to say, I keep having to fix this. Can you just do it? He grabs the person, walks down to the floor, introduces them, explains, and this has been going on for, I don't know, not years, but months at
Probably
least.
years.
Just unbelievable to me that there was no flow back to say what was wrong with what was happening. He just did it because I think it was faster for him in his mind to have to just quickly redline it, then go back and try and explain why all the errors were there. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, so we focus on systems, but then we also focus on all those little things that contribute, right? But the big gain comes from focusing on the system initially. And then that's when everybody's kind of like, okay, I see this, right? And the leadership team sees it, they go, oh, our profits just went up. Can't really attribute it to anything else. So I guess we should think about what's next. And then you start, you can start engaging people differently, right? You can't, I mean, we're talking about these big transformations, but oftentimes you can't talk to clients about major transformations. Some leaders come in and say, I want transformational change in my company. Okay, cool. Well, that's a different conversation then. Yeah, I need a 10% improvement on my factory floor, right? I had a friend of mine's vice president of operations calls me. I need a 10% improvement, right? I need it quick. So, all right, let me come check it out, walk the floor. I said, Dan, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I could give you 50, 60, 70% improvement, but I don't know how to do 10% quickly, right? Just to get 10% would take me a lot of time, but I can put a new system in place for you and give you like, a 10x improvement in productivity in 6 weeks. Is that okay? I guess so. Sure, go for it. Couldn't believe it, but yeah, 6 weeks later, he had a 10x improvement in productivity. So he was selling the company. He didn't tell me that. He needed 10% to meet his numbers.
Well, thank you so much. That was really so inspiring and gave us some really great ideas. And hopefully, we're going to talk for just a second, but hopefully afterwards, and maybe if people need to contact you, maybe we can kind of connect with each other. Really, thank you so much. I wanted to give some of the dates. I wanted Charu to give a real brief introduction. Charu came in because we've got to get out of here, but just maybe a minute.
A lot of people who have met already on the screen, I would say. So Charu, a founder of two companies. One is Agnostic, which is a security corporation, cybersecurity compliance, e-learning platform called Security, which we went live for 4 months ago. So at a high level, I'm in a phase where we're on a ramp and trying to take off. That's where we are. Even though Agnostic is an old company, we're trying to change the model recently, how we're going to market and all that. So that's kind of where we are. spending a lot of time this is, that's what I highlight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just to remind you on some dates, 10/26 San Antonio is having their luncheon. If you've never driven down there, it's a long drive, but there's a lot of cool people there. Next Gen 40 and under is 10/27. Austin, we're having a toast to private equity on the 28th, which should be a lot of fun. And then we are having our next in-person general meeting on the 3rd of November. That's at the UT Club. It's always great turnout. I think we had about 40 people last time. It'll probably be even more next time. And gosh, we were doing 100 before COVID. And then December 14th, Tuesday, December 14th, we will have our next roundtable. So I hope you guys can come back to that. Hopefully it'll be in person again. Maybe we'll do it a hybrid. So anyway, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the support of Roundtable. We do have to be out of here at 10:15 for the next group. Damon, thank you so much for providing this spot. Thank you, Insperity, for providing the delicious breakfast tacos. And we look forward to seeing y'all guys soon. Thank you.
This is a great spot, Damon. This
Thank
is
you.
really
Thank you very
cool.
much.